Last week, NFL owners and team brass met at the Arizona Biltmore in Phoenix for the annual league meetings. Owners voted on rule changes, coaches spoke with the media, and we were there to capture it all. Here's a look back at the highlights. Head coach Matt Patricia sat down with reporters over breakfast in Phoenix to talk about his first year as head coach and how things are shifting for him and his team in year two.
I think one of the coolest things for me was probably during the championship game. So it'd really either be maybe after the season. So the two AFC, NFC championship games, along with the Super Bowl. Some of the things that came up in those games from a situational football standpoint is what we're trying to teach, smarter, understanding the game. And there was some great situations that came up in those games that our players then kind of came back to me and, either shot me a text or called, or we saw them and just kind of was like, hey, did you see that? If that had gone this way, or just kind of that strategic sort of conversation that we're having with the guys now is totally different than what it was a year ago. And, that's a great start, and once those guys start to look at the game that way from a standpoint of understanding, hey, this is how this play affects the next one, or in this situation we could do this, or this is what that situation would be called, then we can think faster, and when we think faster, then we can actually slow the game down and play, we can play faster. So it's, that was a real positive from the postseason. You guys know I have parents that are teachers, and, a lot of teachers say you don't smile, first-year teachers, you don't smile till Thanksgiving. So, you don't let them see a smile. So probably didn't do enough of that last year. I just think there's a lot coming at you. And, probably the guys on defense saw a little bit more of me because I was in those rooms a little bit more, but just making sure the team, has a good opportunity to kind of just get me not so in front of the room all the time. I think the buy-in's always like a tricky conversation. I'm not really sure. It's everybody buys in when you win, so it's easy. But do you know if they're really buying in, or are they just kind of riding the train of winning? I think this is where we find out more so than buy-in. It's about, okay, who are the guys that want to work hard? Who are the guys that want to do it the right way? Who are the guys that are trying to help us build long-standing success? Who are the guys that want to study the game, work hard at it? There's just a different level of work ethic that some of the guys have that are going to come in and that we're developing, of the fine line of what the NFL really is. It may be an hour extra here, or just a little bit of a conversation here between players, or being a little bit smarter in these situations. So it's really about that more than the buy-in factor. It's about just the right types of guys that you put together as a team. It doesn't mean that anybody's not a good player or a bad person. It's just how you put your team together to build the best team. Because as we all know, it's the best team that wins. It's not necessarily the most talented team. So we're trying to find the best team.
In Phoenix, team owners voted to approve a rule change that allows pass interference calls and no calls to be reviewable. I broke down the rule change in a video last week, but team president Rod Wood weighed in on his reasoning behind why the Lions voted to approve the rule change in his media session.
Well, there was a lot of discussion about replays. I'm sure you guys have heard, and there were a number of proposals. The one that we ultimately settled on kind of came together this afternoon after the discussion this morning on it. And I think there was some concern about having it all done upstairs and coaches challenging in the last 2 minutes on a Hail Mary play or something. So I think they kind of found a middle ground that keeps the current system in place and utilizes the replay official upstairs in the last 2 minutes. And it takes, the play that ended the NFC Championship game off of the table of being a discussion item as opposed to something that was reviewed.
And finally, free agency is still hot off the presses, so it was important to hear from General Manager Bob Quinn about his free agency moves, including how he believes Trey Flowers and Justin Coleman will contribute to the defense.
We set out with a plan in free agency to kind of improve all aspects of the team, and the guys that we talked about and signed the first couple of days were important pieces, with Trey Flowers being the first guy. Scheme fit, culture fit, great player, great person. Feel he's going to be able to be a three-down player for us and really increase that level of play across the defensive line, play multiple positions. So that was a guy we targeted, obviously, and it was mutual interest, obviously, because he had familiarity with some of us, and it was hopefully it's a good fit. He's a great kid that works hard, so we're excited about having him on the team. Position versatility for sure is key. He did play both outside and inside in New England during my time there. Primarily the last 2 seasons in Seattle, he played inside. I'd say going forward, he's probably more inside than outside. But we're going to kind of go through the process and kind of see how he fits within the group, because we have, I'd say, a lot of players that have that inside-outside flexibility on our team at the corner position. So we're going to put them all out there in the offseason and training camp and figure out where guys are going to play. In free agency, there's not a lot of sure bets in free agency. Certain years you can be more aggressive than others. And I think, with the money that we paid those guys, the contracts speak to what we think of them, and I think they can help us win games. And that's the bottom line, is we want to get as many players in to our team and our scheme that can help us win more. And that's my goal.
Now that the owners' meetings are officially marked off on the calendar, it is time for full-on draft mode. Only 24 days to go until Nashville. From Xfinity Studio, I'm Tori Petry.